one of the most communicative race officers in the world, and a guy who we love to sort of be on the course with because he's always telling us what's going on. Hank Stewart, how are you, brother?
Good, how are you?
Hank, we've got a great race officer here, Jeff Borland, who is at least as communicative as you. We had a great time with him last year at North Americans. Explain what your job is here for the Melges class exactly.
Well, a number of years ago, Dick Jennings and Karen Gottwald, good friends of mine from Chicago, asked me to help them run some races down at Ocean Reef. And in those days, it was just a very small invitational regatta with 25 boats. And as that regatta developed through a couple of years, we got the idea, or they got the idea, that we wanted to do the World Championships down there, which we did at Ocean Reef Club in Key Largo in 2005.
My first ever World Championship of any kind.
And that was really a special event.
That was amazing. And, 99 boats, right?
99 boats on one starting line, which has kind of become my thing now, with having big starting lines with 3 boats on a starting line.
Yeah.
And that was really special. You're exactly right. It's great club, great place. So anyways, that was kind of my introduction to big-time race management. And as a result of that experience, the International Melges class asked me if I would become more involved with working with the class, the IMCA, in taking on what they now call as the championship coordinator role. It's a volunteer position. I don't charge anybody for my time and services, and I work with Fiona Brown and David Shivers and the class to coordinate the events that the IMCA administers, which is all the World Championship events and the Continental Championship events, which by that I mean the Europeans and North Americans. So every 2 weeks, behind the scenes, which I'm sure you and a lot of folks don't know, is we have a Skype conference call with 3 of us and whoever is the host club for what's coming up next.
I know everything. Remember that.
And so we do that every 2 weeks, and we bring in on the Skype call the various club organizers that are doing this, and there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that competitors oftentimes don't understand, although you, Mr. Clean, know it all. But it's a big effort, and I enjoy doing it, and so for me, it gives me an opportunity to come to the World Championship events, and either as the PRO, as I've done the last 3 out of 4 Worlds, or as what I'm doing here in this regatta for this role as the class rep. So Jeff and I meet each evening and each morning, and we talk about race committee, race administration issues.
And you pass along what's working, what's not, as far as you see it, as far as the Melges class sees it.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's
right on.
Right.
So let's turn to that. We had a tough day today, tough wind, sort of cold and not a lot of breeze, and a little bit of time figuring out how to get the lines reset.
Yep.
First race though, it seemed like a great course, and 5 legs.
Yes.
Why 5 legs? Why do you, as a race officer, why would you run 5 legs? Just curious.
It's and I can't speak for Jeff, but for me, really, there's only a couple of choices when it comes to running races: either 4 legs or 5 legs, either course 4 or course 5. There are other choices, but those are the 2 that mainly make sense because of the size of the fleet and the length of the race course. And so while we try to do just something a little different from time to time, so it's not course 4, course 4, course 4, course 4,
sure, all
the time over again. And I compliment Jeff in the idea of doing a course 5 for the first race today, because it gave everyone a windward finish, which is a good idea.
Well, it gives people more passing lanes, gives them more time to pass.
Exactly. Very good.
I think in the second race we had a big shift just shortly, right after the start. Really, that pin end ended up just a giant mess. What did you think? I mean, does a race get blown? Like, I'm used to starting a Worlds with 2 general recalls, with the competitors beating each other up, and this was pretty smooth until that second race, and then the course was just skewed. They went out there and they sailed for a while. What do you think about the wind and about what Jeff did there?
I think Jeff did a good thing this afternoon in sort of waiting. He's had a bit of a delay between the finish of the first race and the start of the second race. The wind was definitely bouncing back and forth. And again, as a race officer, you're hoping that settles down.
Right.
But I think in terms of this wind direction being northeast today, it's probably just going to keep on continuing. So again, from a race administration point of view, you try to figure out where the middle of the bounces are. It was bouncing between, let's say between 10 degrees and 40 degrees, and so you pick 20 or 25 as the median for the weather mark, and you go from there, and you try to set the starting line up. And again, between the attention signal, which is 10 minutes before the start, and the start, you've got a 10-minute window there. So when the start rolls up on you, you could be in a phase, and the wind could be shifting left, as you're suggesting, and the pin end could be a little bit favored, but you just do the best you can at the time and go with it.
Get them off, right?
Yep.
And I think I think he did good. So far, like I've watched Jeff through all of North Americans last year, now 2 races, and he seems to be doing a great job. He's on it. He's not intimidated, and this can be an intimidating fleet to run races for.
Well, and this is Jeff's home waters. I mean, Annapolis is his home waters. He's got a fantastic team. He's got 7 race committee boats that are out there in support of the race committee, a volunteer group of maybe, I don't know, 30 or 35, maybe 40 different volunteers that are helping out throughout the week. And Jeff's a national race officer and one of the best that we have in the United States.
And yet, with this great team, all of our fans watched a lured gate that was like 3-4 boat lanes apart, and created some real. I mean, it was a bit of a nightmare in there with no room. How does that happen? How do marks get on top of each other like that with the whole fleet coming in?
Well, it's an interesting point you make. People ask me all the time, what's the most difficult place I've ever sailed in the world? And it's an easy answer. The easy answer is Annapolis, it's Chesapeake Bay.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is that it's deep enough that it's hard to set marks, for example, because it's 40 or 50 feet deep, and there's always a bunch of current running here, either tidal current or current coming out of the rivers, and the current is what really makes the problem with these gate marks.
Right.
You can try to set the gate square to the wind, the right distance away, but once the current settles the anchor lines into place, especially over 40 or 50 feet of water depth, the buoy, again being 40 or 50 feet higher than the bottom of the anchor, can reposition the buoys very dramatically. So that's a challenge, and it is a tough thing to do, particularly here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, what do you expect for tomorrow weather-wise? Have you looked into it?
I have no idea. I'm having a beer and talking to you, and tomorrow is what tomorrow is.
Well, Hank, thank you so much, and it's something other classes should think about. Having someone who can stand in, who knows how to run a race, and stand in and sort of be the go-between, I think is probably a really valuable person to have. These guys are really used to great races, and if there's anything going wrong, it's better to have an advocate who can make it happen rather than a lot of pissed off people.
Well, I think you make a really good point there, because there's continuity of what's happening in both in terms of public relations and class administration, and maybe the last part of that piece is bringing in race administration, and have the continuity from regatta to regatta. What are the right lengths of the race courses? What are the competitors like for race configuration? How wide should the starting lines be? How wide should the gates be? That's, I think, really changing in the sport. I think you'll see more and more classes adopt this approach to race administration as a part of PR and as a part of class administration.
It makes sense. Treat it professionally and you grow.
Exactly.
Well, I personally would vote for you being the permanent PRO for all IMCA major events. I love your voice on the radio. I think you do a great job, and thank you for talking with us today.
Well, I've got a couple of events coming up. I'll be the PRO next summer for the Melges 24 North Americans in my hometown club of Rochester, New York. So please come back for that.
You got it.
And also I've been asked, and I've accepted the opportunity to be the PRO for the 2011 European Championships in Haugesund, Norway. So come back and see that too.
Now that sounds like fun.
You betcha.
Hank, thank you so much.
Thank you, Alan.